Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. Now, as the clock ticks for Trump's secondary tariffs to come into effect in India, India is close to signing a deal of $1 billion with the US firm GE or General Electrics for supplying 113 more GE 404 engines for indigenous combat aircraft in India. HAL has already inked a deal for 99 GE 404 engines with the US firm for 83 LCA Mark 1A fighter jets, which were ordered by the IAF, and these 113 would be in addition to that. To speak on this, I'm also being joined by Pranay Upadhyay. This is a major deal. This comes just ahead of the tariffs. Is this, Pranay, appeasement by India, or is there more to this? Because we are still waiting for the engines that are to come. Okay, Pranay Upadhyay will be joining in some time from now, but that's the big news that's coming in. This is a major development. Why? Because this was a deal that was cut or signed, inked for 83 LCA Mark 1A fighter jets, and the engines have been delayed. GE could not deliver the engines in time. So the big question over here is that just ahead of the tariffs kicking in, which is midnight of 27th August in the United States of America, which would be morning here in India. And when the tariffs kick in, it is going to have a ripple effect on how the economy is going to be impacted, how the economy is going to bear the brunt of all this. But for now, it does seem like the timing is something that we will have to look into, and we'll be looking into because the previous orders are yet to be delivered, and $1 billion worth of a deal has been inked yet again. Now, with just hours left for the additional tariffs to come into effect, India is also bracing for the hit, but says that the interests of farmers and others will be protected. The punitive rate is to kick in at 12:01 EST, that is Washington time, on the 27th of August. A formal notice was also issued by the US Department of Homeland Security. More in this report.
Hours to go after US additional tariff of 25% on India goes into effect, and as India prepares itself for the hit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured Indians that the country will withstand the economic pressure.
दुनिया में आर्थिक स्वार्थ वाली राजनीति सबको अपना करने में लगा है। मेरी सरकार लघु उद्यमियों का, किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी। दबाव कितना ही क्यों न आए, हम झेलने की अपनी ताकत बढ़ाते जाएंगे।
The Trump administration has issued an official notice on the additional tariffs on India, with the punitive rate to kick in at 12:01 EST on August 27. The notice issued by the Department of Homeland Security states that to effectuate the President's Executive Order 1329 of 6 August 2025, which imposed a specified rate of duty on imports of articles that are products of India, Secretary of Homeland Security has determined that appropriate action is needed to modify the harmonized tariff schedule of the United States as set out in the annex to this notice. The duties set out in the annex to this document are effective with respect to products of India that are entered for consumption or withdrawn from warehouse for consumption on or 12:01 AM Eastern Daylight Time on 27th August 2025. India, along with Brazil, has the highest tariff of 50% in the world. The products from India that are exempted from 50% tariff include goods made of iron and steel, aluminium and copper, passenger vehicles, light trucks, auto components, pharma sector, electronics that include chips, mobile phones and tablets. Trump had earlier alleged India of fueling the war machine in Ukraine by buying Russian oil, which India has vehemently denied. India has always maintained that this is not an era of war. But the US said the president has applied aggressive economic leverage by imposing secondary tariffs on India to stop Russia from developing their economy. And Russia has made significant concessions.
The president has applied aggressive economic leverage, for example, the secondary tariffs on India, to try to make it harder for the Russians to get rich from their oil economy. He's tried to make it clear that Russia can be reinvited into the world economy if they stop the killing, but they're going to continue to be isolated if they don't stop the killing. And I think the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands. They've talked about what would be necessary to end the war.
But Indian goods could have some respite for some time if they have the following. They have loaded onto a vessel at the port of loading and in transit on the final mode of transit prior to entering into the US before 12:01 a.m. EST on 27th August 2025. They are entered for consumption or withdrawn from a warehouse for consumption before 12:01 a.m. EST on 17 September 2025. The importer certifies that the products qualify for this in-transit exception by declaring a new harmonized tariff schedule. After top aides in Trump administration called India Maharaja of tariffs and accused India of buying Russian oil and selling it in open market at cheap rate for its own benefits, Indian refiners are likely to slow down their purchase of Russian oil but not completely pause it. An indication India will not sever ties with its ally Russia. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, as Trump administration continues its crackdown on immigration and has revoked visas of international students, accusing them of participating in anti-US activities, a sudden change in Trump's policies have drawn the ire of MAGA supporters. President Donald Trump, while answering a question, said US and China share a very important relationship and that the US would welcome 600,000, that's 6 lakh students from China. Earlier, Trump administration had come down heavily on universities where students protested against US support to Israel and demanded an end to the war in Gaza. This prompted the US government to demand a list of names of international students from different universities, threatening to suspend federal grants from colleges and universities. Trump also said the US was making a lot of money from China due to tariffs. Trump's stance towards China softened after several trade meetings between the Trump administration and the Chinese officials or the Chinese administration. This is a serious shift in position and has MAGA supporters up in arms against the US president, many asking why the Chinese are being allowed in such huge numbers into the country. Now, to discuss this and more, I'm being joined. All right, let's just first listen into what President Trump had to say.
President Xi would like me to come to China. It's a very important relationship. As you know, we're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things, and it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students, or we're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China. It's a much better relationship economically than it was before with Biden.
And now we're being joined by Dr. Karan Gupta, an educationist, Harvard alumni, is also a counselor who speaks to counsel students who want to study abroad, particularly in the United States of America. Dr. Gupta, your view on what's really happening over here. The fact that there's been a sharp decline when it comes to Indian students going to the United States of America. Now we're looking at a sharp uptick of Chinese students going to America. Well, you'll have to unmute yourself, Karan.
Hi, Geeta. Thank you so much for having me here today. A very important topic. I mean, end of the day, today we're looking at still India sending the largest number of international students to the US. Things are worrying at the moment. Parents are worried. Students are worried. People want to know what's coming next. but we still have to understand that Indians are still the largest group of international students in the US. We have seen students having issues getting visa dates. We've seen students having issues getting their visas issued itself. It's not been easy this year, but qualified students are still getting visas to the US. Universities in the US are saying that they haven't seen a drop in the number of international students, especially from India. So we are seeing a little bit of a different situation on ground here.
Really, there are reports that suggest, Karan, that there has been a decline in the number of students who are going, foreign students itself, in generally speaking, but particularly Indian students. Given that the OPT that you need after you finish your course is something that the universities or the administration has been reluctant about, and that does not allow a student to explore oneself in the United States of America, working there after one finishes one's course.
So Geeta, once again, these are proposed changes. On ground, nothing has changed. OPT is very much intact. Students are still given permission to stay back and work in the US. When we're talking about lack or rather a drop in enrollment, what universities are doing is that if a student has not secured their visa in time, they're still enrolling online and they're planning to join the university in January. So that is why the universities are not seeing a decline just as yet. What we're seeing, of course, is that the process has become tougher. Things are taking longer. And that's why students have to budget a lot more time, which they didn't have to do earlier.
All right. Then what is your reaction to the kind of outrage that we're seeing right now with the announcement of 600,000 more Chinese students across US universities? MAGA supporters up in arms. They're asking questions to the Trump administration, particularly to President Trump, as to why this decision. What, according to you and your assessment, do you think is going on in the United States of America?
So what we are seeing is that this process is evolving. The whole student visa, the students studying in the US, I see it as an evolving process where now the US is looking at highly qualified students, no matter where they're coming from. What they're trying to do is they're trying to stop students who are not that qualified, students who are not going to top universities. They don't want those students anymore. We are seeing this globally. This is happening in the UK. It's happening in Canada. Every country is telling India that send your best students to us. We'll take them. We want them. So again, when we're looking at student numbers increasing from countries, keep in mind they are weeding out students who are not academically as motivated to come to their countries.
But Karan, 600,000 Chinese students, that should mean a lot. The fact that President Trump is saying that they're bringing in a lot, and there is some amount of favor that you're seeing towards China, is that disadvantage other students from other parts of the world, other countries? And will it, in longer perspective, help the United States of America in any way?
So what I see again is that today you look at all the top CEOs of companies in the United States, all of them are of Indian origin. More than 30% of the faculty at top universities like Harvard, Stanford, Cornell, all are Indian origin. End of the day, Indian students, they leave a mark wherever they go. They're going to do well. Even if today you say, I'm going to take the most qualified students from India, you're going to get the best kids going to the US, making a mark and eventually opening the doors for other good kids coming. I really don't think that if you're going to get a large number from another country, that's going to hurt Indian student chances. Our good kids are still going to do well in the US.
Okay. Very pertinent point being made by Dr. Karan Gupta. You work a lot with these children. You see potential and you see hope that the United States of America will not shift policy, will not shift stance. I'm looking at it, Karan, in a very different way. I'm looking at it in a way that how policies can really change and transform not just the basic of economics, but also education, culture, people-to-people contact. We'll have to wait and see how that really pans out for India and the United States of America. But for now, Dr. Karan Gupta, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has said that his country deeply regrets what he described as the tragic mishap that occurred at the Nasser hospital in the south of the Gaza Strip on Monday. An Israeli strike on Nasser hospital killed at least 20 people, including 5 journalists who worked for agencies including Reuters, the Associated Press, and Al Jazeera. Cameraman Hassam Al-Masri, a Reuters contractor, was killed near a live broadcasting position operated by Reuters just below the roof of the hospital in Khan Yunis. The other journalists who were killed included Mariam Abu Daga, who freelanced for the Associated Press and other outlets, Mohammed Salama, who worked for Qatar-based broadcaster Al Jazeera, Moaz Abu Taha, a freelance journalist who worked with several news organizations, including occasionally contributing to Reuters, and Ahmed Abu Aziz. Photographer Hatem Khalid, also a Reuters contractor, was wounded. The Israeli Defense Forces acknowledged striking the area of Nasser Hospital and said the chief of the general staff had ordered an inquiry. And here are some other stories from across the world and World at a Glance.
The U.S. Transportation Department said it will withhold federal funding from California, Washington State, and New Mexico unless they adopt English proficiency requirements for commercial truck drivers. The administration of President Donald Trump has taken a series of steps to address concerns about foreign truck drivers who do not speak English. And last week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States was immediately pausing the issuance of all worker visas for commercial truck drivers. Spain declared the municipalities affected by the 113 wildfires this summer as emergency areas. Spain Interior Minister said a total of 16 regions in Spain were included in this emergency coverage. Most of the southern Europe is experiencing one of the worst wildfire seasons in 2 decades. Incessant heavy rains plunged parts of Kashmir into a state of crisis, with flash floods and rising waters wreaking havoc across the region. Rising waters of the Chenab River have brought the Pul Doda Bridge under severe threat. Road connectivity across the district remains disrupted due to landslides and falling boulders, leaving many villages cut off.
And that's all in this edition of India Today Global. But before I go, here is my take on what's going to happen next between Russia and Ukraine. Budapest is back in the spotlight. Once the site of Ukraine's broken nuclear promise, now a stage for Trump's high-stakes gamble, bringing Zelensky and Putin face to face. Is this the path to peace or a trap of betrayal? Here's an excerpt from Statecraft where we tell you why Budapest was chosen as the place, or could be chosen as the place, for that important meeting. To watch the full show, log on to India Today Global's YouTube channel. Goodbye and take care. Budapest, a city of river lights, gilded bridges, and history that never sleeps. Once the site of a broken promise, now in the running to host the deadliest handshake of our age. Volodymyr Zelensky versus Vladimir Putin. Not Geneva, not Vienna, not Istanbul, Budapest. The city where Ukraine once gave up its nuclear shield for guarantees that were shattered when Russia stormed in. Ironical, isn't it? 3 decades later, the irony is unbearable. The same city is back, center stage, for a summit that could shape war or peace. Coincidence, symbolism, or trap? Why Budapest, of all cities, for this fateful meeting? We explain. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The war rages on, towns flattened, families displaced, economies strained across continents, yet no peace. Multiple talks, unilateral ones, but nonetheless. Minsk, Istanbul, Geneva, all ended in smoke. Now Washington is pressing harder. Donald Trump has already staged warm-up acts. Zelensky in Washington, D.C., Putin in Alaska. He wants the grand finale, both men in the same room, same city. Enter Viktor Orban, Hungary's power broker prime minister, dangling Budapest as the stage. For Putin, it's safe, no ICC handcuffs waiting. For Trump, it's friendly turf. For Zelensky, it's uncomfortable but hard to reject. But given Budapest's haunted history, is this really neutral ground or a loaded trap? Budapest isn't just another European capital, it's the city where Ukraine was stripped of its nuclear future. In 1994, Ukraine surrendered the world's third largest nuclear arsenal, thousands of warheads, missiles that could reach Moscow, Washington, even Beijing. In return, Kyiv was promised security. The Budapest Memorandum guaranteed Ukraine's sovereignty, signed by Russia, the United States of America, and the United Kingdom. Fast forward, Crimea seized in 2014. Full-scale invasion in 2022. Russia tore the memorandum to shreds. The guarantees were empty words. Now talks may circle back to Budapest. The irony cuts deep. Can the city of betrayal really host the language of peace? Every conflict has its stage. Geneva, classic, safe, neutral. But Geneva reeks of Western oversight. Too close to NATO's orbit for Moscow's taste. Vienna, the Cold War's favorite meeting place, but neutrality is no longer believable to Moscow. Istanbul, it once held promise. Delegations drafted documents there in 2022. But trust died with the failure of those talks, and the city became a symbol of dashed hope. Budapest steps in. Hungary left the ICC. No risk of Putin being detained. Orban keeps doors open to Moscow and Kyiv. For Trump, it's perfect optics. For Zelensky, it's bitter but unavoidable. Viktor Orban thrives on contradiction. He rails against Brussels yet enjoys EU money. He criticizes NATO yet stays under its shield. He shakes Putin's hand yet negotiates with Zelensky. Trump sees Budapest not as neutral ground but as theatre. This could first be a bilateral, but should it be a trilateral? Picture Trump striding into Budapest's parliament building, two enemies on either side. He claims the spotlight. He brands himself as peacemaker. He eyes history and maybe a Nobel. Budapest, for Trump, is stagecraft made flesh. For Zelensky, Budapest is personal pain. The 1994 memorandum is a wound carved into Ukraine's history. Ukraine gave up its nuclear shield. What did it get? Tanks in its cities, missiles on its homes, mass graves in its soil. In diplomacy, least bad often wins. Not everyone buys the Budapest pitch. Poland, Ukraine's loudest backer, is alarmed. Another Budapest sounds like another betrayal. Memories of 1994 still burn. France frowns too. Macron prefers Geneva, neutral ground without Orban's shadow. Even inside Ukraine, doubts stir. Orban has blocked aid, slowed sanctions, and cozied up to Putin. Can Ukraine risk it? Can Zelensky sit under Orban's roof and still claim independence? The skepticism is real. To some, Budapest looks less like neutral ground and more like Moscow's chosen field. A peace summit? Yes, but on Russia's terms. Budapest isn't neutral, it's a chessboard. Orban is the host king, Trump the showman queen, Putin the calculating bishop, Zelensky the embattled knight. Every move matters. Every misstep could mean collapse. This isn't just about Ukraine, it's about Europe's future. If Budapest succeeds, the war's tide may shift. If it fails, it adds another scar and the bombs keep falling. The choice of Budapest isn't coincidence, it's a gamble that forces the world to ask, will the city finally deliver peace or script another tragedy for history's books? Thank you for watching Statecraft.